Anapeksha Shuchirdaksha Udasino Gatavyatha Sarvarambha Parityagi Yo Mad Bhakta Same Priyaha. Translation: those who are indifferent to worldly gain, externally and internally pure, skillful, without cares, untroubled and free from selfishness in all undertakings, such devotees of mine are very dear to me. So, anapeksha, they are indifferent to worldly gain. And why? Because they have understood that no matter how much you get, the inner state will remain the same. So they value something else beyond worldly gain. It's all a question of your values. Now somebody is in the office, in the government office, and another person comes up and says, "Can you break this rule for me?" Says, "No." "I'll give you $500. No. "I'll give you $10,000. Impossible. 100,000? Okay, put it here. See, these values are important, but 100,000 is more important. So the decision is made based on the values we have. Now everybody's got different values. If your values say that worldly gain is the highest thing, then you will say any which way, let's have the worldly gain. Why not? But if your values say that no, this is not as valuable as people are making it out to be, then you will go by your other values. So you will be indifferent. So, take a look at what Bahubali did. Rishabdev, we have heard his name from the Bhagavatam. He was also the first Tirthankar in the Jain religion. So Rishabdev, before retiring to the forest, he divided his kingdom amongst his 9 sons. Now the eldest Bharat had aspirations of being emperor, Chakravarti Samrat. So he started subjugating his brothers and getting their kingdom under his dominion. But there was one problem. One of the brothers, Bahubali, he resisted. Bharat had grown very powerful. And Bahubali said, "So what? I got this kingdom from my father. Who is Bharat to cast his evil eye on my share?" So a war became inevitable between the two brothers. And counselors on both sides said, "Why do have a war? Look, you are brothers, avoid bloodshed. Settle this in a more amicable fashion. Let us have a wrestling match between the two of you without any weapons. So Bahubali and Bharat, they got into a wrestling match. And Bahubali was dominating until Bharat realized that he is going to lose. So finally, against the rules of the contest, Bharat invoked a weapon he had got from his father called the Chakra Ratna, and he discharged it towards Bahubali. However, the Chakra Ratna went to Bahubali and stopped. Bharat had forgotten the rules of the weapon. It cannot be used against family members. Now Bahubali got annoyed. You took recourse to injustice. How dare you? In his anger, he had twice the strength. He lifted Bharat and threw him on the ground and got onto his chest and was about to smash him to death, when he suddenly regretted and he jumped off. And he said, "Forgive me, dear brother. In my greed for the kingdom, I forgot to respect my elders. Fie upon this kingdom that made me behave like this. I don't want it, it's all yours." And he walked off into the forest and became a monk. So imagine his indifference to worldly gain. And what enabled him to have that indifference? His value system, which said there's something more important than this. It is the life that I lead. It is the way I become from inside which is more important. Likewise, the saints say, look, the most valuable thing in the world is the nature of our inner self. Because that is what will please God. In that matter, there should be no compromise. If I need to reject some material things, I will do it. And that rejection happens easily. Why does it happen easily for the devotee? Because the devotee has got another treasure. This is the inner treasure. And in front of that inner treasure, this treasure looks puny. Just like if you are in the dark and someone gives you a lamp, you'll say, wow, he's giving me such a big thing. And if you are standing in the midday sun and somebody gives you a lamp, you say, yeah, put it there by the side. Because you got the midday sun. So, to be able to reject worldly pleasures like that, you have to have the inner treasures. And that is why Lord Krishna says, Anapekshaha. My devotees, O Arjun, are indifferent to worldly gain. And then he says, Shuchi. They are internally and externally pure. Internally pure, because the heart is the temple for God. So as Sri Aurobindo said, you must keep the temple of your heart clean if you wish to install therein the living presence. If you want to bring God in your heart, God says, look, clean it up. Supposing you go to your friend's house and you find that in the friend's living room, there are 5 dead cockroaches lying there. Are you going to remain there for long? It's this filthy place, get out of here. Likewise, we say, oh God, please come and reside in my heart. And God says, look, you've got anger and greed and desire and hatred and envy. Clean all this up, then you call me. So that is why the devotee is internally pure. And then the external becomes a reflection of it. So the external is what we learnt in childhood, right? Cleanliness is next to godliness. But now the internal cleanliness automatically leads to external cleanliness. So Shuchi and Daksh. The devotee is skillful. So, why is it that everybody is not skillful? Because it takes effort to be skillful. You need to apply yourself, to dedicate yourself, to master your craft or trade or whatever you are doing. And chalta hai, that is very easy. A mentality of compromise, if it happens, it happens. But if you wish to really do something well, you need to exert yourself. So people take the shorter path. It's all right. That is why there's so much of competition at ordinary. But at extraordinary, there is very little competition. Because very few people exert themselves to become extraordinary. Now the devotee has got a motivation to do the best. And that motivation is because the devotee is consecrating the work to the Supreme. Now you say, okay, I am so renounced, I am renounced from my seva as well. Whether it's all right, it's not all right. That's not, you renounce from the fruits of the seva, but not the seva itself. This mentality of doing something just ordinary. The CEO of IBM, Thomas Watson, his slogan in the days when IBM was right at the top, his slogan was, as of this moment, stop doing anything less than excellent work. So, don't make perfection your goal. That will be a neurotic behavior. Because when you find a defect, then you will go into depression. Why am I not perfect? Make excellence your goal. Am I doing the best that I can do? Even then there will be mistakes. But I need to exert myself to the utmost. And that is what brings about growth in skill and talent. So Anders Ericsson, you've heard of Anders Ericsson, right? He is the master in the topic of practice. He says that hundreds of thousands, millions of people practice golf all their life. But there is no growth in skill. So who says practice makes perfect? You can keep practicing tennis. Does everybody become like a superstar in tennis? He says it is deliberate practice, which means every time you are practicing, you are exerting yourself. What are my shortcomings? Push yourself to eliminate them. And that is how we grow our talents. So Virat Kohli, few years ago when he was like superstar of the world in cricket, I just read his testimonial. He said, when he goes to practice at the nets, so the cricketers, they go for net practice. So he says, I go for 2 hours practice at the net, and every day I go with this mindset that in these 2 hours I need to improve in some department of the game. And that is deliberate practice. So when you decide what I am doing is for the sake of God, then He is the best, and He must be offered the best that we can offer. And that is why, like I said, in the field of devotion, you find everything super excellent. Whether it is literature, or it is singing, or it is dancing, because the devotee is skillful in the service of God. And udasina. Udasin means without cares. You may have heard of this formula. Is there something that's troubling you in life? Yes, Swamiji. Can you do something about it? Yes. Then why worry? So, is there something that's troubling you in your life? Yes. Can you do something about it? No. Then why worry? In any case, why worry? But the devotee has a greater reason not to worry. The devotee has a trust that, oh God, I can't understand why these things are happening. I really feel that I should be having the best career and I should be having this way, but things are not going on the way I aspire. Nevertheless, oh God, I realize that you must have a greater plan for me. And these difficulties are part of your plan. If all our wishes could get fulfilled today, we may not become the way God wants us to become. Because we are like the children in the jewelry shop. You put a child in the jewelry shop and you put a chocolate in front and say, Beta, take what you want. Is the child going to take the $50,000 diamond? The child only understands this Hershey chocolate is so delicious. So likewise, if God says, take what you want, then what will we say? Oh God, give me a trip around the world. But if we leave it to God, मेरी चाही मत करो, मैं मूर्ख अज्ञान, तेरी चाही में प्रभु है मेरा कल्याण. My Lord, please don't do what I ask you to do, because my desires are all wrong. My intellect is material. You decide what is good for me, and then you do accordingly with me. My Lord, I surrender myself to you. You henceforth become the director of my life. And supposing we insist, God, it has to be that way. Now, God is also a gentleman. He may say, all right, okay, let it be if you are insisting so much. And so many times we have seen in life that if you insist something must happen and it does happen, later on you say, what a mess it is. So rather than that, the devotee says, I do my best, my Lord, and then leave all these plans at your feet. Whether you sanction them or you reject them, because I understand there's a greater plan which you have for me and for everybody else. Now you people are ambitious for your children. So do you think God is not ambitious for all of us? But you are also strict with your child. Now the child doesn't appreciate the strictness. I wanted that chocolate cake, 5th helping, and Mummy did not give it. I was just watching video games and Papa said, stand up against the wall. Papa is so bad. Beta, when you grow up, then you will realize Papa was doing it for your welfare. Likewise, we also complain, God did not fulfill this desire of mine, God did not fulfill that desire. We realize that He's got a greater plan for us. That faith is there in the heart of the devotee. I don't understand all things. I leave it to you. One child, his grandmother was knitting something, a sweater. So the child says, Dadi, what are you doing? She said, I'm knitting a sweater for you. He looked from this side. He said, Dadi, what is all this mess? This is not a sweater. Grandmother said, my child, come and look at it from my side. He came around and looked, and a beautiful pattern was getting created. So from his side, it was looking like a mess. From the grandmother's side, it was falling into place. So likewise, from our side, we may say everything is wrong. And God says, don't worry. Everything is under my dominion. You just do your bit and you leave the rest to me. So the devotee is without care. So let us make a resolve. You touch your neighbor on the shoulder and say, from today I will be without care.